Australian Four. It's me, Mr. A, back with story time for another day, and carrying on with Michael Morpurgo's The Amazing Story of Adolphus Tips. Monday, November 1st, 1943. Pinch punch, first day of the month, slapping a kick for being so quick, punch in the eye for being so sly. Barry kept saying it to me every time he saw me. It was really annoying. In the end, I shouted at him and hurt his feelings. I know I shouldn't have. He was only trying to be friendly. He didn't cry, but he nearly did. But tonight I feel worse about something else, something much worse. Ever since Bloomers came, I've been giving her a hard time. We all have, but me most of all. I'm really good at giving people a hard time when I want to. I cheeked her when she first came because I didn't like her and she got ratty and punished me. So I cheeked her again and she punished me again, and on it went. And after that I could never get on with her at all. I've been mean to her ever since I've known her, and now this has happened. The vicar came into school today and told us he'd be teaching us for the morning because Mrs. Bloomfield wasn't feeling very well. She wasn't ill so much as sad, he said. Sad because she had just heard the news that her husband, who's in the Merchant Navy, had been lost at sea in the Atlantic. His ship had been torpedoed. They'd picked up a few survivors, but Mrs. Bloomfield's husband wasn't one of them. The vicar told us that when she came back into school, we had to be very good and kind so as not to upset her. Then he said we should close our eyes and hold our hands together and pray for her. I did pray for her too, but I also prayed for myself, because I don't want God to have his own back on me for all the horrible things I've said and thought about her. I prayed for my dad too, that God wouldn't make him die in the desert just because I'd been mean to Mrs. Bloomfield. That I hadn't meant it when I'd said I wanted him to die because he drowned the kittens. I've never prayed so hard in my life. Usually my mind wanders when I'm supposed to be praying, but it didn't today. After lunch, Mrs. Bloomfield came into school. She had no lipstick on. She looked so pale and cold. She was trembling a little too. We left a letter for her on her desk which we had all signed to say how sorry we all were about her husband. She looked very calm, as if she was in a daze. She wasn't crying or anything, not until she read our letter. Then she tried to smile at us through her tears and said it was very thoughtful of us, which it wasn't because it was the vicar's idea, but we didn't tell her that. We all went around whispering and being extra good and quiet all day. I feel so bad for her now because she's all alone. I won't call her Bloomers ever again. I don't think anyone will. Monday, November the 8th, 1943. Ever since Mrs. Bloomfield's husband was killed, I've been worrying a lot about Dad. I didn't before, but I am now, all the time. I keep thinking of him lying dead in the sand in Africa. I try not to, but the picture of him lying there keeps coming into my head. And it's silly, I know it is, because I got a letter from him only yesterday at last, and he's fine. His letters take forever to come. This one was dated 2 months ago. He never said anything about me being cross. In fact, he sent his love to Tips. Dad says it's so hot out in the desert, he could almost fry an egg on the bonnet of his Jeep. He says he longs for a few days of good old Devon drizzle and mud. He really misses mud. How can you miss mud? We're all sick of mud. It's been raining here for days now. Mizzly, drizzly, horrible rain. Today it was blowing in from the sea, so I was wet through by the time I got home from school. Grandfather came in later. He'd been drinking a bit, but then he always drinks a bit when he goes to market, just to keep the cold out, he says. He sat down in front of the stove and put his feet in the bottom oven to warm up. Mum hates him doing it, but he does it all the same. He's got holes in his socks too. He always has. There's hundreds of gum-chewing Yanks everywhere in town, he said, like flies on a cow pat. I like it when Grandfather talks like that. He got a dirty look from Mum, but he didn't mind. He just gave me a big wink and a wicked grin and went on talking. He said he was sure something's going on. There are fuel dumps everywhere you look. Tents going up all over the place, tanks and lorries parked everywhere. It's something big, he said, I'm telling you. Still raining out there. It's lashing the window panes as I'm writing, and the whole house is creaking and shaking, almost as if it's getting ready to take off and fly out over the sea. I can hear the cows lowing in the barn. They're scared. Tips is frightened silly too. She wants to hide. She keeps jogging my writing. She's trying to push her head deeper and deeper into my armpit. I'm not frightened. I like storms. I like it when the sea comes thundering in and the wind blows so hard that it takes your breath away. Mrs. Bloomfield said something this morning that took my breath away too. That Daisy Simmons, Ned's little sister, is always asking questions when she shouldn't, and today she put her hand up and asked Mrs. Bloomfield if she was a mummy. Just like that. Mrs. Bloomfield didn't seem to mind at all. She thought for a bit, and then she said that she would never have any children of her own because she didn't need them. She had all of us instead. We were her family now. And she had her cats, which she loved. I didn't know she had cats. I was watching her when she said it, and you could see she really did love them. I was so wrong about her. She likes cats, so she must be nice. I'm going to sleep now, and I'm not going to think of Dad lying out in the desert. I'm going to think of Mrs. Bloomfield at home with her cats instead. I just went to shut the window, and I saw a barn owl flying across the farmyard, white and silent in the darkness. There one moment, gone the next. A ghost owl. He's screeching now. They screech, they don't twit-twoo. That word looks really funny when you write it down. But owls don't have to write it down, do they? They just have to hoot it, or twit-twoo it. Right, so I'll be with the next part of that. In the meantime, take care. Bye-bye.